Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unlock Tuesday live stream. I am here every single Tuesday at 2 o'clock Eastern. And as you guys may notice, I am not at my desk today. I am actually out in Colorado Springs. We're looking at a pretty sweet property out here and getting to see some friends and really just enjoy the nice weather in the mountains. So, you guys, I'm here to teach you today BRRRR for beginners. We're going to do a very high-level overview of why the BRRRR method is the best method out there to buy real estate, a little bit about me and kind of my story, and then we're going to actually go over every single step of the process. So this is going to be a really good one. We're going to talk about how you fund deals, how you find deals, how you renovate, how you really do every single step of the process. And if you master this, you too can go out to Colorado Springs on a whim to come look at a badass vacation property. So this is something you should definitely take seriously. It is the exact method that I have used to build my portfolio. It's worth, $11 million, $11 million right now. And I built it using the BRRRR method. So I'm here to teach it to you. Let's hop in. Okay. All right. So if you guys don't know me, my name is Jessie Lang, and a little bit of kind of my backstory, how I ended up here. I actually graduated from college in Austin, Texas back in 2010 to just age myself a little bit. And I did not set out to become a landlord or a housing provider by any means. I bought a crappy little condo right out of college. I really couldn't afford the mortgage technically. And so, I could on paper, but not the life I wanted to live, was putting all my money into my property. So I got some roommates, and they were paying my rent. And then it was 2013 came around, and I actually went to, I split with my partner at the time, who's one of the roommates, and Lizzie's saying, "Are we invited?" That's funny. I knew that it would be crazy to sell the house or the condo. I knew that it would be emotionally too hard to live there. So I moved out. And I, in the span of 2 weeks, went from living my everyday life to having 4 college boys renting out this condo that I had lived in. So when I'm telling you I totally fell into this, I totally fell into it. Over the next couple years, I did intentionally buy 2 more properties that I moved into personally. And then Karen's saying it looks windy. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me, if it's too windy. But over the next 2 years, I actually intentionally bought 2 more properties. I lived in them. I had roommates, and I built my rental portfolio this way. So my first 3 I owned were all house hacking. It was not until 2016 rolls around, and it was I was kind of fed up with everything that I was doing. And so I ended up quitting my job, and I went to go travel the world for a year. It was an incredible experience. If you guys can find time in your life, to go travel, I highly recommend it. But I still wasn't taking real estate seriously at this time, which is crazy because 3 rentals let me quit my job for an entire year and go travel, but I still didn't take it seriously. So I moved to Columbus, Ohio after this year of traveling. That was 2017. It wasn't until 2018, I moved here for a job, and it wasn't until 2018 that I finally quit that job and went real estate full time. Those first couple years, I was wholesaling everything. I would get properties under contract, and then I would sell that contract to an end buyer, and that I would make a fee, and it was great, and I was making money, but I wasn't really building a portfolio. So it wasn't until January 2021 that I got really serious about the BRRRR method with the help of a mentor. And from there, I did acquire 11 properties, what I call the wrong way, prior to 2021. That first year of the BRRRR method, I bought 22 more doors. And since then, in the last 3 to 4 years, we've scaled to 75 rentals using this method. So it's a great one. 2022, I started helping other students buy rentals. I've been doing these live streams since then. I've run the Rentals Made Easy mastermind. So I've been focused on teaching others to do it and scaling my own portfolio over these last couple of years. So I'm going to show you exactly how I made this all work. But first, I'm just going to let you know, if you don't know, y'all, I am just I'm here in Colorado Springs, just traveling, pet loving puzzler, kind of a dork. I'm just a normal, regular person who figured out how to buy a ton of real estate. And so I want to show you the same. Okay, so why do we actually care about owning real estate? Everyone thinks, well, I want to make cash flow. And I'll tell you, the cash flow is great, but it's the icing on the cake. It is not the sole reason that you should be buying real estate. So appreciation is basically the natural increase in value of real estate over time. Historically, in a 10-year period, real estate has never gone down. That is through the Great Recession, through all of this, real estate has always been up over a 10-year period. So there's inherent risk with buying anything, but it's not, pretty safe investment. So natural increase in value over time. You also have, at the same time, principal reduction. Someone else is paying down your mortgage every single month. So your value goes up, your principal balance goes down, and your equity grows every single month. You have your tax advantages, depreciations, write-offs. You can defer taxes through 1031 exchange, cost segregation. There are some really advanced strategies that you can offset. If you have a higher earning W-2 and you want to offset some of that, if you can prove that you are a real estate professional, then you can actually write off a lot of that. So then you have your cash out refi. This one, it's not a guarantee, but if you BRRRR correctly, that we'll talk about, then you actually can pull money out at the time of your refi. And so we've done that, not on every property by any means, but on a lot of properties that we own, we actually pull money out at the refi. A typical real estate deal kind of versus a BRRRR deal, you're going to need W-2 job, or if you're self-employed, 2 years of tax returns. You're going to have near perfect credit, 20% down, 45 days to close. And that is, they say 30, but it's going to be 45. Full appraisal, full inspections, tons of paperwork. It's not a fast and agile process like we'll talk about with the BRRRR method. So just keep that in mind as we kind of go through this process. So here we are. What is it? The BRRRR method, it was kind of coined by BiggerPockets probably a decade ago at this point. The idea is that you buy a property, you renovate it, you get it rented out, you take that newly renovated property to the bank, you refinance it, and you pull that money out, and then you repeat the process over and over and over. And I love BRRRR so much, really for many reasons, but the two main ones are that there's little to no maintenance we aim for 10 years. And so we're saying CapEx, like windows, roof, furnace, all of those things are taken care of at the time of the renovation. So I'm really not looking at these big surprise out-of-pocket expenses for the next 10 years. Additionally, you can have low to no money in the deal, meaning maybe you pull money out at the refi, maybe you leave a little bit of money in, which if you're investing here in Columbus, it's pretty likely that will happen, just being perfectly honest. But the question is, maybe you leave 10K in a deal versus, and say it's worth 200,000 versus 20% down on that same deal would have been 40,000. So do you want 20K in the deal with a nicely renovated property, or do you want 40K in the deal? And it's like, even if you leave money in, the BRRRR is still coming out superior for sure. So those are kind of our main two reasons, among many others. And so, like I said, this is super interactive. I want to hear from you. If y'all have any questions as we go through each of these steps, and we'll go through an example as well, I absolutely want to hear from you. If you're watching live, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, I will answer your questions. So let's hop into the buy. So this is the key here, and you've all heard it. In real estate, you make money on the purchase. You make money on the buy. And so if you're not buying right, the whole rest of your deal, you could do every single thing right, but it's still not going to be great, right? So we're looking for something specific that is undervalued. It's in need of repairs, because a key component of the BRRRR method is that we force the value of the property through renovation. So you can't buy something that's already renovated. It's not going to work. Now, that doesn't mean you need to do a full gut rehab by any means. You can do cosmetics, you can do some mechanicals, and you'll still be able to BRRRR. So how are we finding these deals? It's really 4 main sources. My kind of bread and butter is wholesalers and MLS. I have done direct to seller for 4 years. I'm actually kind of getting back into it now. And then referrals are awesome, but obviously with everything, there are pros and cons. So MLS, everyone has access, so there's going to be more competition, but you're going to get a lot more kind of formalized process on how you buy versus wholesalers who go out, they do the marketing direct to seller, put the property under contract, and then they sell that contract. So they're going out to do the legwork for you, but you pay a fee in exchange for all that effort. Now, that's up to you on how much fee you would pay. My answer is I will pay any amount that makes sense as long as the deal still works. And so direct to seller, if you're doing this at scale, it is really difficult and it's a full-time job and you're working with a lot of distressed sellers. You're solving problems constantly. I wouldn't totally recommend doing direct to seller yourself unless you are a full-time investor. And then referrals, maybe they're few and far between, but you're going to have immediate trust with the seller. Some of my best deals have come from referrals. Then we have financing types. And so we have traditional bank, a hard money lender, which we call HML, and then private money lender, PML. Both of those are kind of OPM, other people's money. Those are really kind of investor type purchases. You're going to have a lot less down payment with the hard money and private money, faster closes. And when I say here, you'll see, private money is 1 to 14 days. We actually just had a student on our mastermind call right before this who was saying that she was acting as a private money lender and they closed a deal in 3 days for a seller. And so the possibilities when someone literally has cash and you just are borrowing that cash, you're working with the individual, you could close same day. Honestly, same day. There's lots of big investors here who just have money sitting at title. You bring in the deal. So there's a lot of flexibility when you're using other people's money. If you don't know how to use other people's money and you're only going the traditional bank route, you can see here the difference. And you're going to be far, far less competitive, like to the point where you're probably not going to get any offers accepted if you're going with a traditional bank. So you have to know how to use hard money, private money. You have to know how to use other people's money. That is something that we teach, hands like all the time in the mastermind. And it's something that we also touch on in the BRRRR for Beginners kind of mini course that we'll talk about. So these are all super important. You found the deal, you purchased it. Now we have to go get it renovated. So like I said, the goal here is to force the value of the property through a renovation. What renovations to do? I get this all the time. Well, Jesse, how do I know what to do? You need to do what the comparable sales are doing. So if they're doing new kitchens and new baths, you need to build in the cost that you will also do new kitchens, new baths, because you can't say, well, my property will be worth 200 when it's fixed up, but I'm not going to do half that stuff, because no, it won't be worth that. Even with all that in mind, the most important thing that you need to do is focus on function and safety. These are going to be long-term rentals. Someone's living there. You have to have a house that works the way it should. So that's function. And you have to have your safety items. So this is asbestos, bathroom vents, egress, if you have anything down in the basement, GFCI around water, just all these things. If you don't know what renovations to do, great thing to plug into a community or a mentor for other with other investors. And then picking finishes, everyone thinks this is kind of the fun part, but I'm actually going to maybe burst your bubble on this and tell you that this is not the fun part. We actually pick our renovation or pick our scope of work once, and I do every single property to match the exact same. So same flooring, same paint, it's all standardized. And that lets us shuffle materials between properties. So I can buy flooring in bulk. My GC gets stuff in bulk and they can move materials around. It lets me have really easy maintenance. If we have paint touch-ups on a turnover, I'm not trying to figure out what color paint it was. It's always the same paint. So that makes your portfolio super standard and really easy to manage long-term. Also, you can harden the property. And these are things that maybe look really nice, and they are really nice, but they serve a dual function, right? It's like to make it look nice, but also to harden it, right? So we have no soft surfaces. We install backsplashes in kitchens to kind of protect the drywall. No carpets, nothing like that. It's a little bit more expensive up front, but the idea is that it's going to reduce your turnover cost. Like when I go, I'm not replacing carpet, I'm not cleaning carpet, anything. Our cleaners are cleaning the LVT floors and we move on. Now we have to go out and get this property rented. So this is actually, the act of leasing it to create a cash flow. This is the exciting part when your rent checks start coming in, the whole reason why you're probably doing this. But how do you determine, how do you get it rented, right? So first you have to determine your market rent. We look at Zillow comps. Take this with a grain of salt because these haven't actually sold. They're not sold data. It's just what's listed for rent. You can use Rentometer. You can test the market by, we'll usually go, because our properties are renovated pretty nice. So I'll usually add 25 to 50 bucks on what I think I could get. We'll test the market for a week, see what happens. Then you figure out what you're going to market it for. You go out and advertise Zillow, For Rent Side, Facebook Marketplace. There's a wide variety of ways that you can market. And then you have your showings. And this is totally up to you. You can do open house structure. You can do self showings where the resident gets the lockbox code and goes on their own time. You can do pre-approvals. These are all things that I have tried over the years. I do have my system that works really well. We do self showings with pre-approvals and it works well. So, yeah. Then you have your property management software. Even if, and I get this question, Jesse, when should I start with the software? And the answer is literally from your first property, because you are training your residents and you are training yourself. You're creating good habits. So no one has your cell phone number. They're communicating through the software. You're accepting payments through the software. Everything's digitized. And there's just some different examples here on different, beginner, intermediate, advanced, but there's an infinite number of software out there if you're interested in any of these. So now we have to get the property refinanced. We have, we bought it under market value. It needed work. We did the work. We got a market rate resident in place. And then we are taking this to a long-term lender and we're saying, hey, bank, how much will you give me? How much will you loan me against this nice new package that I created? And we'll go over some examples, but typically the answer is around 75%. But you're going to want to ask this when you're interviewing lenders. So if you guys want, you can take a screenshot of this, or if you want a copy of this slideshow, we can send it to you. Just comment slideshow and Lizzie can get you over a copy. And so there's some questions here. You want to have these handy as you are asking. And in the mastermind, we actually have a shared Google Doc where every time someone talks to a lender, we're asking all these same questions and we're putting it in a shared doc. So we're saving time by basically interviewing a lot of lenders at the same time. So you want to know what loans are they offering? We'll go over some loan types. What are your interest rates, points? Is it amortized? Is there a balloon? Some will have a 10-year balloon where it's actually due before the 30 years is up. Max LTV, loan to value. That's what I was just talking about with the 75%. Some will do 80, some will do 70. Seasoning period. These are all things you definitely should be asking. And am I cutting out? Tell me if it's better. Okay, ebbs and flows. Okay, well, it says I'm on the internet, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, so then we repeat this process. I took it to the lender. I got, a conventional loan, a DSCR loan, and I got my money back. I paid off my hard money, my private money. I paid off OPM. And then I'm going to go out and do this over and over and over and over. This is the step that a lot of people miss, but it's so important. Some of the key components that you need to do during the repeat is fill out your data management system. We actually have it's basically a custom database where we're tracking everything from our mortgage terms, what renovations we did, how much it appraised for, any inspections we did. It can be a Google sheet. It could be whatever you need. But track this somewhere. Complete a postmortem how did the numbers pan out? How did it compare to what you thought was going to happen? And then what can you do better next time? Then, like I said, you just do it again and again and again. So let's look at some examples. Okay, windy every so often. Okay, well, I'm glad y'all can hear. Sorry about that. Got it. You know, that Colorado breeze, you just can't complain about it. And some people are saying slideshow. So Lizzie, if you could help get these over, that's gonna be great. So if y'all want the slideshow, just let me know. Okay, so let's look at some examples with real numbers on it. I'm not going to read you all these definitions, but if you have any questions, go ahead and, they're there for you. There's really for a BRRRR to work, there's really kind of two categories it needs to work in. So it needs to work at the purchase, and it also needs to work on the long-term cash flow. So first, we'll kind of look at the purchase to the refi. And so this is example 1 and example 2 are the exact same concept. They're just in maybe a Midwest market and then a more expensive market. So say you bought this property for $75K. You may be rolling your eyes. I promise you that is possible if you're investing here in the Midwest. Say you put $25K into the property, you have $5,000 holding costs, so you're all in for $105,000. Now, before you bought it, you ran your comparable sales, you looked at the ARV, after repair value, and you determined once this is fixed up, based on the other sales, it's going to be worth $140K. Your long-term refi lender will give you 75% of that new appraised value, which is also $105,000. So you're all in for $105. They'll give you $105 back. You pay off your lender. You own this property with 25% equity with none of your own money in the deal, right? Because they only finance 75%. So 25% of that is your equity. So that's pretty badass. And then if you look at the same concept on a higher, your holding costs will be more, your renovation will likely be more. So you're all in for $300. It's worth $400 when it's fixed up. Same 75% loan to value. That's going to be true almost across the board. So you're in it for $300. You're getting $300 back against the property. So you have, again, 25% equity with none of your own money in this deal. Okay. Oh, Lizzie, this is fancy. Okay. Text slideshow to 614-368-3791. It'll send you the slideshow. Wow. Look at that automation. Good work. So yeah, text slideshow there and we will get you that slideshow over. Karen's asking, how many properties on average can you acquire with the initial investment through refi? So the benefit of this is that it's literally unlimited. Now, if you're going to need some down payment up front. We say 10 to 15% of the combined purchase and rehab. So in this example for the 105, say you're going to have about 15K down. Now, if you only have 15K, you can do one property at a time. At the refi, you get that 15K back and you go do it again and again and again. Say you have 50K. That's equal to 3 properties. You can do 3 properties on the same cycle at the same time. So you could have one in purchase, one in renovation, one in refi, or in every same step of the process. You have more money to play around with. So the more money you have, the more you can do. You also can raise that money, so it's not like absolute requirement, but it is a good idea to have some of your own money. So the answer, Karen, is that it's unlimited as long as you have the money for the down payment. Cool. These are great questions. Okay, so like I said, there's kind of 2 components. So it has to work on the BRRRR, and then it also has to work on the ongoing cash flow. So our same example 1, so this property is worth $140. Say it rents for $1,250. You're going to have your debt service, which is your principal interest. You're also going to have your tax insurance, and then we pull out repairs and vacancies. Now you'll notice I don't pull out CapEx necessarily because I'm doing the CapEx at the beginning. So you may see some other calculators, they pull out CapEx as well. We're doing the windows, the roof, the furnace. We're doing all of that up front. So I don't have a reserve for that. So this, example 1, cash flow 224, example 2, cash flow 300. They're not made up, but this is pretty accurate to what it could be, but these are examples. And so I want to highlight that by forcing the value through a BRRRR renovation, you are creating that 25% equity, which is real money. In example 1, It's worth 140. You only borrowed 105 against it. You created $35,000 in equity. So it's not only your cash flow. Like I said, you know, your $200-$300 a month, like that's cool, but that is not what's creating lifelong wealth. It's your equity that you're creating that's this lifelong wealth. So example one, you created $35,000. Now it's equity, it's tied up in a house, that's not cash necessarily. Example two, you created $100,000 in equity. If you were to do this once, fantastic, congratulations, you can send your kid to college. If you were to do this 10 times, you can go buy the house of your dreams. If you were to do this 100 times, you could retire your entire family. You know, like, you see what I'm doing? You're not just going to do all of this and go and buy one property. So it's scalable, it's repeatable, it's designed to be done over and over and over. So there were some questions. Let me hop in. So Gerardo's asking, I understand BRRRR, but how am I finding properties in this market? So I think if you mean in this market, like competition wise, not location wise, yeah, it's competitive. Like Columbus truly is competitive. So I am expanding my radius a little bit. We're not buying only in Columbus proper. We're looking in Newark, Dayton. A lot of our mastermind students are buying in Indian Lake, in Marion, just kind of the surrounding hour. So if you are in any major metro, it's going to be competitive, just flat out. There's a lot of investors out there today. And the worst part, there's a lot of bad investors who are willing to overpay for deals. I'm not willing to overpay, so sometimes my offer isn't the best. So what I've done is kind of expand my radius to an hour outside of our major metro, and that will apply across the country. If you're only looking on the MLS, that's not enough. You need to be working with wholesalers. You need to be building out your referral network where people are sending you deals. They know that you buy real estate. And so there's just a lot of different things that you could be doing. But I promise you that there's deals out there. We just bought a property for $118,000 that will be worth $275 once it's fixed up, and we are putting about $70K into it. So easy 50, 60K profit after fees and all that. That one we're actually going to flip. It's in more of a flip neighborhood. But I promise you the deal's out there. You just have to make offers. You can't just expect that they're magically going to show up. You have to go out and make offers. Okay, good question. Everyone said you couldn't hear it earlier. Okay, and then Karen is asking, where do we find networks locally? So great question. We are looking a lot on Facebook groups, in-person networking. I'm actually on the leadership for a local group here called Coin. If you guys are in Columbus, you should definitely come to Coin. Lots of networking to be done. So in person, online, mastermind groups, if like any paid education is an option as well. So just all sorts of things. Yeah, good question. So looks like Gerardo's asking, are most mastermind investing in specific market of Ohio? A lot are investing here in Ohio, but definitely not everyone. We have quite a few in Indianapolis, so like Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky. What else do we have? A lot in the Midwest. We have some Atlanta, North Carolina. So Florida, definitely Florida. They're all over, but I will say quite a few are here in Ohio. So yeah, great question. Sorry, it is definitely getting windy. So let's look at kind of next steps. If you wanted to learn about this process in a lot more depth, I actually have a BRRRR for Beginners blueprint. It's a little mini course. It's everything we talked about here, but in so much more detail. It's about 65 little on-demand mini lessons. It's all me. I'm teaching all of it. It takes you step by step. You literally can walk through exactly what to do. We do have one 30-minute call per month that you guys are welcome to come to, and we have a private Facebook community. So the BRRRR for Beginners is $47, lifetime access. Seriously, that's all it is. Lizzie is going to post the link to join in the chat. And so that's our BRRRR for Beginners. I built this with every single piece of depth that I can imagine. But sorry, there's like a big truck out here. But I will say, like, it's a mini course, right? If you wanted to, sorry, big truck. If you wanted to take this one step further and actually get like super hands-on, in-depth help, that is the Rentals Made Easy Mastermind. And that is what, majority of our students are doing. A lot start with BRRRR for Beginners and then they kind of join the mastermind. We're doing 3 calls every single week. It's super tight-knit community. I know everyone. I know their business. We're doing deal analysis. We're bringing you experts from all walks of life. So that's another option as well. But yeah, if you're just like getting a feel for this and you want to kind of figure out what BRRRR is all about, the mini course is a great option for you. So if you're on YouTube, the link is in the description. If you're on Facebook, it's here as well. And happy to answer any questions you have. I think I got most of them. All right, looking through, it looks good. So thank you all so much for being here, and we will see you next Tuesday.